Hey, what's going on, guys? So, this video is going to be a lot different from my usual content because I just played Little Nightmares and got curious about the lore and backstory of the amazing game. I figured I'd make a video about it because crippling depression has left me to the point where I can't be fucked to actually get in front of a camera, so I'm going to begin this video by talking about the settings and characters and what information is already available about them. At the end of this video, I am going to be talking about things that remain unanswered and try to come up with some answers for those things. This video will obviously contain many spoilers about the game, so don't watch if you don't want to be spoiled. That goes without saying, I guess. So let's start off with the main character. You play as Six, a 9-year-old child she just has a raincoat and a lighter. So Six wakes up after a nightmare, trapped in the dark confines of what appears to be a ship at first glance, but it turns out that Little Nightmares takes place on a resort, most of which is underwater. This resort is called the Maw and caters to extremely obese guests by feeding them seemingly endless supplies of food. What is the food made from? The captured children, such as Six. It appears that the large monsters who run the Maw capture these kids and hold them prisoner until it's time to place them on a meat hook and then turn them into sausages. This is the grave reality that Six is facing. The first enemy you have to confront in this game is the Janitor. The Janitor is blind and relies on his abnormally long arms to feel his way around and a sense of smell and hearing to find any children running around the depths of the Maw. Six has an insatiable appetite, causing her to fall into a trap from eating meat and get caught by the Janitor. After escaping, you continue through the underbelly of the resort, trying to find a way upward while the Janitor is still creeping around. After a while, you are able to grab onto a meat hook and make your way to the mid-level of the resort, where the kitchen staff and their living quarters appear to be. These are the two chefs that you need to avoid, known as the twin chefs. These two are very fat creatures who are much larger than Six, and if caught by one in the kitchen, it will add you to the meal he is already cooking, raincoat and all. This further proves the point that the children are captured and used as food for the guests in the resort. When you escape the kitchen section of the Maw, you go topside where you can see a ship with a large bridge allowing for the abnormally obese guests to arrive onto the Maw. You can also see a tall and skinny lady watching over. This is what we believe is the owner of the resort. Going through this section of the game, it becomes clear what the Maw is for. A luxurious place where the guests get to stuff their fat faces with all the meat that they desire. And they are very aware that the meat is children, because if you get caught by the hands of one of these guests, you get shoved immediately into their mouths and eaten whole. Also in this area, the setting is much different. Everything seems more oriental themed, with some guests wearing kabuki masks. You eventually end up in the portion of the ship where the lady lives. She spends her time getting ready in front of a mirror, but the mirrors are all broken. It seems like she can't stand to look at herself. She also has some dark powers, allowing her to transport throughout the darkness. The mirror is her ultimate downfall though, leading to the ending where the lady is laying on the floor nearly dead, and Six begins to eat her. Six seems to gain her powers, and begins walking through the Maw to the exit, easily killing any of the guests that she passes. So that's the characters and settings, and what we actually know. Let's talk about some unanswered questions that I still have after playing this game. My first reaction is about the area on the bottom where all the shoes go. There's a room full of shoes, and at first I thought that maybe they belonged to the children. But after further inspection, I noticed that they are much larger than what the children would wear. Could this be the guests' shoes? And if so, why are they falling into this part of the ship? On the Little Nightmares website, the information about the guests states, quote, "They feed, and then they leave one way or another," unquote. This leads me to believe that maybe some of the guests eat so much that they end up dying, where their shoes and belongings are then discarded. This also leads me to think that maybe the deceased guests are used for food as well. There are parts in the kitchen where you see the chefs cutting up large chunks of meat, much larger than parts that could be found on the children's tiny bodies. Is this the guests? Also, what is the creature that swims through the shoes trying to get Six as she's wading through them? That I honestly have no answer for. Another thing I noticed was at least one large humanoid appeared to hang themselves in this game. This person appeared to be slender. Maybe they hung themselves at the bottom of the ship because they couldn't live with the guilt of watching these children be used for food. How do those eye lights work that appear to burn the children who cross its path? Maybe that has something to do with the lady's dark powers as well. In this game, you can see that Six has ravenous hunger during certain moments. This situation peaks towards the end. While being offered a sausage, Six instead eats the gnome that's holding it. To me, this shows that Six would rather eat the gnome instead of a sausage made out of other children, while also showing that she will go to any means to survive. Finally, Where do the children come from? Are they captured off of the mall and then brought back as prisoner? Is there some sort of child farm on the ship? Some of the ladders that you see in the game while escaping the ship are too small for any of the guests or workers to use, appearing like only children could climb them. Could this be a hint that maybe the children were used on the resort before as helpers instead of food? This could also tie in with the person who hung themselves, because what if he was around when children were used as helpers in the ship, and now he can't stand to see them killed and fed to the guests? I don't know. It's just an idea, dude. Hopefully all these questions eventually become answered, and we see more about the story of Little Nightmares. Thank you guys for watching this video. My content is usually much different from this and more comedic. If you like this video though, don't be afraid to check out my channel and see if there is anything that you might enjoy. Drop a sub if you want. It could be cool. I don't know. Whatever, dude.